what do you want from social media? And this generally ties in with what you want as an organization as a whole. At the moment, do you want more money? Do you want more support of volunteers? Do you want more brand awareness? Do you want more people to know about your organization? Do you want more word of mouth, more people talking about you? Do you want thought leadership? Do you want to be a leader in your field, in whatever charity you're in? Or you want basically your advertising which you have, a simple ad you have, you want it to go viral on the internet. You have to ask yourself really, what do you want from using this particular medium? It may change from your everyday activities, what you want every day as an organization to do, and also it may change per campaign, what you want to achieve. But you need to quantify that. You need to be sure that's what exactly you want to get out of it. The next part is understanding what your target market is doing online. I mean, people behave differently when they're offline in their general day-to-day work and when they're online. So it's basically understanding, for example, if your main target is 25 to 35-year-old mothers, etc. Understanding how do they behave online. And the thing is, this information is available. You can Google it and you can probably find that information. It may be a bit dated, but it will still be there. Finding out, this is what mothers from this age group, this is how they act online, this is what their interests are, this is what they focus on, these are the type of websites they visit, this is the type of conversations they have online in social media. All these elements are there. There's websites there, there's so many different forums already talking about it, so all the information is there, you're just accessing it. So what I get from this slide is, as a charity organization, have you done that? Have you gone on the internet and figured out the type of people you really want to talk to? And that will obviously inform then your decisions you make on social media when you use that particular platform. And here's the questions you can ask. Where they are, what they do, how they engage, how they influence each other, what their shopping habits are online, how they see your brand currently, what would motivate them to give money to a charity such as yours. Is it relevant for them to even be talking to a charity such as yours? Are you targeting the right market? You can get all these insights just from asking these questions. The bottom line though is you need to make yourself worthy of their time. So you need to be relevant. And hopefully from there also their money as well. So obviously, I mean, you can all use more resources, more money so you can do more work. So are you making yourself worthy of them? I mean, are you making themselves relevant? If they see you online, are they going to read the first paragraph of who you are and just switch and go back onto Facebook or wherever else and carry on with their lives? Or are they going to sit, they're going to be engaged with you, and are they really going to want to interact with your brand online or with your organization? And this boils down to then the first question, then, what does your organization do? Can you express it as simply as possible and the most effective way as possible? Because once you do that, engaging online is very, very easy. I mean, setting up a Facebook profile, say Facebook page is free. Getting yourself on Twitter is free. The only thing you have to invest is your time and your effort into it. But once you have the basic setup of knowing who you are, what you're doing, you know it's effective and you know it's relevant to your target market, the rest becomes very, very easy. If they trust you, others will too, because once people start talking to you, they talk to their friends as well. They start recommending. If they want to get involved, other people see them being involved, and that's how the viral effect works. So the more relevant you make yourself, the more relevant you make yourself to not only these people, but also their network, their friends' network. And that's exactly what social networking is. It's not only the people you are targeting, it's their entire networks of friends and families. So the tools that are out there, which you could use as an organization, there's many social networks, which is Twitter and Facebook, etc. There's blogs, there's microblog, which is Twitter. There's RSS feeds, social bookmarking sites, forums, podcasts, YouTube, photo sharing sites. There's so many different tools you can use. I mean, this is just a breakdown of the actual tools you can use for different elements of what you're going to do. For example, sales, product, support, if you're in a crisis, etc. What are the best tools to use? You can see there's so many tools out there. And you can find which is relevant to you. But the question is what you're going to do with these tools. And are they right for you? You can't get involved in everything. You'll be spending most of your time just setting up online tools but not really interacting with anyone. So essentially, once you figure out which tools you want to use, do you want to be, okay, Facebook and Twitter, I'd say basics. At least you should be on that. Everything else you can start sort of filtering into maybe later. But once you figure out which one is the most relevant to your particular organization, you want to talk to them. This is about creating a dialogue. It's not about sending simple messages every time we are launching a campaign, we like this much of money, we want to do this, we want to do that, etc. It's very, very boring, and every single other organization is doing that as well. What's going to set you apart? What's going to make you relevant? As I said, you identify your target market. What's going to make you relevant to them and talk specifically to them is going to want to make them listen, and then secondly, on top of that, take action. What's going to make that happen? The old marketing tactics don't work here, as I just mentioned. You need relevant content, and you make sure it's clear and simple. The three elements I think are important here at the bottom, where the content you put through on social media and on websites, where number one, I just mentioned now, is it relevant? Number two, is it the correct placement? Are you putting it on the right places? What maybe is right for a bunch of ads you're running in magazines might not be right for Facebook, or it might not be right for Twitter, or maybe it is. But you need to understand that. These are different sort of elements you're using. Try and tailor it as much as possible to make it as relevant as possible, not only for the people you're targeting, but the specific platform you're using. So Facebook, what's the best way we can use Facebook? What are the benefits and the major benefits of Facebook which we can take advantage of to make ourselves look better and to promote our message? This is a very important but which no one else does. Everyone is worried about talking. I mean, as I said, I just mentioned now about finding your target market, where they are, what they do, etc. It's a lot to do with listening. It's a lot to do with reading and finding out and actually listening to these people and what they want and what they're doing. It's not about just broadcasting, this is our message, we hope you're listening, go out and do your work. It's about a dialogue. And the most important part about a dialogue is listening. You have two ears and one mouth. Listen twice as much as you talk. And this obviously applies to social media as well. I mean, you don't want to cut yourself off from people just by being just sort of a talk shop where you're just constantly giving messages but you're not responding to anyone. If someone asks you a question on Twitter and you think, how quickly do you reply? That shows that you are actually listening to the people and you are actually paying attention to what people are saying about you. So when you're giving out messages, suddenly three or four people come back with questions. How do I do this? Or why is this important? Or why are you doing this here? Once you respond to them, you're automatically setting up a dialogue. You're automatically interested. And the thing is about social media, once they start talking to you, other people in their networks can see that they are talking to you. And that's another way of spreading that message. And as I said, if you listen and you talk, you automatically start, it's very personal. It's less of an organization talking to a person, it's more of a person talking to a person, if that makes sense. Because the personality starts showing. So if you respond to people on a timely basis and you respond in a caring way, and even though you're being attacked sometimes with different questions or different criticisms, but if you respond in a professional manner, etc., that sets your personality online. People start to respect you online. And all these different elements from a social aspect start contributing to your brand online. People start to trust you more. People start wanting to do more with you. In terms of listening, what can you do to listen? As I said, look at other charities in your industry, or even outside your industry. What are they doing that's working? There are a lot of charities already very, very active in this sphere. So just to try and look online, there's a lot of articles I know about charitable, non-profit organizations and the best way for them to use social media. Google these things, try and get as much information as possible. The different other charities which are similar to yours, what are they doing? Are you doing the same things? Look at key Twitter accounts of very influential people online who are involved in NGOs. What are they saying about the industry? What are they doing? Your important customers, your employees even. Are they getting involved? Are they listening? Are they in this feedback loop of actually being involved? And I think everyone in the organization should be involved in this, by the way. And, okay, competitive is not much of an issue. But essentially it's about making sure every single stakeholder in the organization has this information, and number one, that they're using it, and also that you're getting it at the right times. For example, you could use Google Alerts for certain keywords. So if there's something very relevant to your particular organization or your industry, you can know about it as soon as it happens. instead of being very reactive. So a couple of days later, after something happens, you are sending out a press release, for example. As it happens, being involved in the conversation as it happens. Next, we try to understand what it all means. So essentially, the picture there was basically people talking to each other and people getting ideas out of it. That's essentially what happened. And hopefully from those ideas, people will act. Either on social media or in real life, they will act. I'll try and give an example from the Arab Spring a little later. So, another thing about basically trend analysis, looking at the main thing about this here is analyzing, number one, what people are saying either about your industry or your particular organization, or even any relevant topics that are happening currently. And these are sort of, this trend analysis is using these tools to try and find out, well, to keep on top of the listening basically. So, for example, if there's a hashtag about, let's say, a water crisis in East Africa, you know, are you following that hashtag? Is it relevant to your charity? Are you contributing to that conversation? Because there'll be people following that hashtag to see what's happening right now. You know, there'll be people talking from Africa, in East Africa, saying what's happening on the ground. There'll be people in Britain talking about what activities are happening here to contribute to that. And are you being involved in that conversation? So it's about being aware now. Is this hashtag there? Are we involved? What are we doing? It lives outside also social media. Are we doing anything concrete? Do we really have a campaign to raise money for these people? And if we have a campaign to raise money for these people, is that being communicated online? Are we using that hashtag? Are we contributing to the conversation? Secondly, just following your company online. I mean, what are people saying about you? You know, I mean, are we getting involved in any bad press or bad publicity? Are we responding to that through our Facebook, through our Twitter, through our other means as well, through our press offices, whatever it is? Because it doesn't just live online. We need a more integrated approach and a more broad-based thinking. Currently, you have all your different elements of communicating. You know, take social media and just fit it in there. It's a method of communicating, but it's an ongoing method of communicating. So fit it in with what you're currently doing, but use it to really expand what you're currently doing. Take a very step back and see, these are all my media channels. Social media is one of them. Are all of them integrated, and am I using all of them as one big push to get my message out? These tools are free, but obviously the price is accuracy. So when you're tracking them, the free ones generally are less accurate. But then I think this is more for corporate areas, because obviously it's very, very expensive when you want to get into the very, very detailed of what people are saying. And generally it's not very relevant to charities and organizations. But it's just to make you aware that there are tools that you can pay for to really track what's happening. And there's also free ones you can use. As I just mentioned now, to make it all seamless, make sure everything is integrated. Magazines, radios, TVs, whatever ads you got going out or whatever communication you got going out, make sure it's seamless with social media. This here is, looks very academic, but essentially it's what generally all brands use as a method of looking what elements do they have to use in terms of getting into contact with the consumer on the ground. Now charities don't have this information simply because some of it is not really relevant. For example, some don't have money for TV ads. Now things like promotions, packaging and point of sale material, that sort of thing in store, not very relevant. But I mean, you can take the best out of there which is more relevant for you and try and use it. So essentially what you could do with looking at a wheel like this is looking at it and then using it as a tool to find out which are the relevant channels on here which my organization can use to get our message out. Which are most relevant, what are the priorities, which is the most important. Is social media even a priority for us, or is it like third on the rung, you know, below two other bigger priorities of channels we need to use? You need to ask yourself these questions in a very sort of systematic way, so that, I mean, you know that number one, you know what your organization is about. Number two, you know the best way and the best method to get that message out. And that's essentially what you're trying to get at. And it's using tools that is, the only point I'm trying to make with it is all this information is out there. It's online. I mean, you don't need me, guys like me are dime a dozen. you get all of us coming and talking to you, yeah, but the information is there. You need to go and get it and you can start using it. So what do you do? Three things. Number one is integration, creating a relevant presence on all the touch points where people will be in contact with you. Social media will be very important in this. Interaction. We're actually starting conversations. You're asking the right questions, you're getting involved in the right conversations with the hashtags, you're following the trends in your industry online. All these things, you are asking the right questions, you are talking with different people. And it might not even be people on the ground, it might just be important people in the industry you're asking questions with. Or whatever it is, But are you starting a conversation? Are you being involved? It's very important. And then innovation. Are you innovating? So, just say you start this tomorrow, right? You don't have anything. You're starting from zero. You start going on Twitter and Facebook, and you start this whole element. And after about 2-3 months or something of doing it, you get the hang of it, etc. You start noticing then, you know what? Twitter's not working so well. Facebook is working much better for me. How can I better improve that? And also, I think YouTube and this other social network will be much better for me. Start innovating. Always think differently because things are changing as well. I was just talking to Sister and I told her that there's a new one called Pinterest, which is a big social network coming up. It's like sort of a pinboard. It's the biggest one now for 2012. So all these things are constantly changing. I mean, should a charity be involved in that or not? I mean, you need to understand that. Have you asked a question? Do you know it even exists? That's what I'm saying. You need to be aware of these things and be on top of it to know what's happening. That's all I mean by innovation, because this thing is constantly changing. The Arab Spring. This is just an example I used where essentially there's a quote from an activist in Cairo during the Egyptian uprising where we used Facebook to schedule the protest, Twitter to coordinate, and YouTube to tell the world. And it's very simple essentially. They understand what they wanted out of what they wanted to achieve, and they took social media and they did it. And if you look at how it started, the actual Egyptian uprising, it started with just a simple Facebook page. And it started with not even an organization. It started with one guy who was just some web developer, and he felt really strongly where, what is the page called? It was, We Are All Khalid Saeed. Khalid Saeed was a blogger who got beaten up by police and he passed away. And so this guy, Wael Ghanim, started a Facebook page saying, We Are All Khalid Saeed. And he got 350,000 followers on that web page. Because people who were just very, very upset with what was going on. And from there, I mean, the actual uprising wasn't even the start. Before that, they had very quiet protests. They used to stand on the beachfront, just all dressed in black, and just stand there in silence for like a couple of hours. And they coordinated like thousands of people just to stand there for a couple of hours on a Saturday or something, just to make a point to the government. And then when people started saying, you know what, because the Tunisians had already a protest where they were protesting against the government, against unemployment and corruption, etc. We also want something like that there. So they said, okay, on January 25th, we are going to protest this thing. And on his website, well, on him, this one guy said, you know what, this is not just going to be a protest, it's going to be a revolution. He was the first one who said that. And he created that hashtag Jan 25th. And from there, everything spiraled out of control. But the most important part about it wasn't just what he did and what he said. The people on that network, they got actively involved. And this is what's relevant to charitable organizations like you. People started posting on the webpage how they printed thousands of posters for the revolution on January 25th and they went to put it up. It really brought people who actually did things on the ground. It just brought them together to talk about this particular issue. If you look at Tahrir Square, suddenly plumbers were there putting up, in their own free time, with their own money, whatever money they get, they were putting up toilets. There were doctors setting up clinics in Tahrir Square on that day. This is all for free, all just through one little element of Facebook. And this is the main point I'm trying to get to, is bringing people together with a relevant conversation and getting them to act. And how creatively can you do that as an organization? Secondly is looking at your objectives and what will success look like at the end. Okay, so using social media, what am I trying to achieve? How would I know if I'm successful? So would you basically see that you have 5,000 Facebook friends by August this year? Would that be success to you? Have you increased your income from using social media, using things like increase it by, I don't know, £1,000 by the next couple of months? Would that look like success? how many likes on Facebook, how many followers on Twitter. You can just look at the different metrics and see what does success look like, and then obviously measure. This is important because you don't want to get stuck in it and just go and go and go and just wing it, you know, as it's happening, you just do whatever it is. You need to know, number one, why you're getting into it, but also secondly, how would success look like if I'm using this particular method. And this will help you also to understand that if you don't achieve that amount of followers, etc., to ask, what am I doing wrong? What could I do better? You know, am I on the right platform? It's to help you ask these questions. Measuring success, there's tons of, these are just a few I just picked up just by Googling it actually. So I mean, you can get a hold if you want to start getting into actual, like in sort of do some advice in terms of actual tools you can use once you want to measure what your success looks like online, depending on the platform obviously. But the point is you need to measure it. So number one is knowing what success will look like. Number two is knowing how do you measure that success. And as I said, the tools are there. You just need to get involved and start. And in summary, so what your social media strategy should cover. Number one, how to reach your target audience. How to integrate it with all the rest of your activities. You need to communicate and engage in the dialogue with your target market. How do you start increasing your online audience using the different platforms which you're on online, and then obviously getting higher traffic across all your online assets. Because I mean, I assume all you guys already have websites, etc., where all your major content is. You want to drive people there as well. You know, you want to drive people there to find out exactly what you're doing. You give them more information, to let them download a certain material. You know, all your videos are there, etc. You want to drive people there. So I mean, that could be one of your metrics. A lot of driving an additional 1,000 people to your website. That could be a success factor to you. You know, this is how you're doing that. And that's it. I hope I was useful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Muhammad. Now we're running a little bit late, so what I'm going to do is this is going to be a live discussion. So we have 20 minutes, and then for those who want to disappear and those who want to network, by all means, you can stay behind. So it's a discussion, so it's open discussion, so feel free to have any questions, any issues. If I can just quickly request that when you ask the question, just make sure it's kind of slow so the interpreter here can actually get that captured. So that's the most important thing. But thank you. Start, Dr. Hani.
Okay. I didn't take a breakfast. How can we use social media for fundraising?
For fundraising, there's a lot of different elements there. The main one, I think, is Facebook campaigns. Those are the most successful I've seen. There's different ways of going about it in terms of setting up groups, and there's even, I think, I forgot what the platform was called. It's a very simple element you can put there to raise that money. There's a lot of different groups doing it, but I think Facebook would be the best one to go ahead and do that.
Can you send us those groups?
Yeah. Okay. Contact me. Contact me by email, and I'll send you whatever you ask me whatever question.
Good question. Just relevant to the question from if you look at the website, crowdfunding. I don't know if you've heard of that yet. Yes. Yeah. Basically, if you have an idea of a project, you can ask your friends or family to click for your project. So for example, by clicking for it, the number of clicks you get, there's a target you have to achieve. You can raise money if you achieve that target of clicks. So if you, for example, want to raise £1,000, you say I will do 1,000 clicks by a certain date, and that apparently converts into money as well.
I've seen it. A lot of I've actually seen a lot of in terms of Palestine. There are a lot of filmmakers who want to make their own film. And what they've done is they've made a short trailer of the film they want to make, put it online, and they gave the topic and what they want to achieve, etc. And they say they want to achieve $75,000 by this date. And then everyone who goes and sees this, they can actually donate at that particular, see the trailer, and they can donate. You can see how much money they have at any particular time. So they're up to 20,000 or whatever, and then you can.
Is it
the individuals that actually.
It's people on the ground, yeah. So then you can use social media to drive people to that website and say, please, donate and help this person, and it works. I mean, people start sharing with their friends and that sort of thing, all going to the same website to really just get money.
What I understand is it a specific website or is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Was the title of the website?
It slipped my mind. I don't know why.
Giving, just giving, there's a few.
Crowd.
It's called crowdfunding.
Yeah, that's a
Crowdfunding.
different one.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
What was the one you said, sorry?
Chip in,
Ah, okay.
just giving.
Just the
Yeah, just giving. That's one. That's a big one. Just giving.
One of the issues that we've been looking at is how to get people more interested. So somebody clicking like on Facebook or following us on Twitter doesn't necessarily mean anything,
Yeah.
and it's only once they begin to get more active that perhaps they're then more likely to give money. So what are the strategies for getting a larger proportion of your sort of passive followers actively involved?
That depends a lot on the communication itself, being creative with how you use the communication. One of the major things, and it's a theme throughout this thing, is relevance. Making it really relevant to them, So it's taking, for example, water crisis in East Africa, removing it from that far away place, East Africa, where they have this problem, and relating it to their on-the-ground experience. For example, saying, do you know you waste this amount of water every single day, and these people have, this amount of water to have every single day. Just make it relevant to their everyday experience. That breaks people out of their mindset, oh, there's a problem over there somewhere. Make it really relevant to the on-the-ground experience right here. I think that's a really, it depends on the communication, how creative you are with that. In terms of, that's why I said, find out your organization, your target market, what's relevant, what's important to them, and then tailor your communication to really get to the heart of, really affecting them. Because at the worst level, what will happen is, you'll get them to start thinking about it. That's the lowest level. But once you hit them where it hurts, in their everyday experience, they'll at least start thinking about it. And then the best that could happen, obviously, is that they're actively involved. So you're sitting on a really good band over there.
How can you engage with audience from different countries? For example, our Facebook page, we do have a lot of followers from Saudi Arabia and Indonesia. So the language is an issue here, especially when we do Facebook updates. We use English, and it's very hard to change language. Like I could write in Arabic, but it's not practical to do that all the time.
Yeah, I think that's a problem a lot of brands have been facing. And the one thing is, Facebook is trying to sort that out where they're actually using, how you have Google Translate, etc. They're having little buttons where people can translate straight away. It won't be very effective in terms of translation, but at least there's something there. But in terms of actually doing, apart from actually talking in their language, I don't see really a way of. But that's just the way.
And the translator is something that we need to download?
No, it's part of Facebook.
I don't have a question, but I've just got something to add. Just to give you just a kind of an example, a real example of how Twitter in particular changed one of the organizations. We spoke to the director of Shelter, the charity, and what they did is Christmas 2009, they launched products on Facebook. And what has happened is that for some reason, Stephen Fry, the famous guy, actually tweeted about their product. Our Shelter is doing something for Christmas, willingly. He didn't actually get involved or nothing to do with the organization. Their website was closed down for 6 hours because of the amount of traffic that came in through Twitter and through the website. And it's just one person who just famously said, Shelter is doing something good, let's go to the website. He didn't even ask people to donate. And I'll just give you an example of how you can actually use celebrities. Celebrities both from UK, international, who actually love the appeal and love what you're doing. So maybe engaging with the celebrities can actually drive volume at kind of big hit. Just that's
the point I make about listening. I mean, if you're actually listening to what was going on, you figure out the certain celebrities actually talking about what we're interested in doing with, and engage with them and say, look, we are doing this here and this here. Please would you mind talking about our product? I mean, what's the harm in asking? You know, it's not going to cost you anything. It's free on Twitter and Facebook. Just asking them, and you could have a result like that. You know, it's about listening and paying attention.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I think
Sam?
my point is very similar to what the gentleman said earlier about interaction. If this is something we've been working on for a while, we're struggling to go beyond the likes level of interaction. So we're at a stage now where we put something up and people are liking it, which is great, but we're struggling to go to the next step where people are actually commenting, feeding back, and actually saying what they think and responding to questions that we post. So getting beyond the likes and into something more meaningful is, I guess, an area that we're struggling with at the moment, and that's what we're trying to break.
That's engagement. It's a hard thing to do, but essentially what it is, again, number one is relevance, but number two is what type of updates are you putting up? Why don't you ask them questions? You know, say this is happening. Try and put more open-ended things out there rather than closed-ended, just content that keeps on being fed through, because everyone's doing that. In terms of engaging with them, I mean, every time, the way to really increase it is every time someone leaves a comment, you leave a comment as well, or you ask them a question. You know, even if it's one person or two people or whatever, start with that at a small level. And then secondly, as your status updates, ask, so for example, if there's a certain crisis happening at the moment and you've got a pertinent question about it, ask a question on your Facebook page. You know, really engage them. And I've tried it already. Sometimes you won't get no comments at all, even though you ask the question. Sometimes you get one. Sometimes you get people saying stupid things on it and wondering how you can even respond to this or anything. But still engage them. I mean, I had people saying weird things on different pages, and suddenly I twisted it around. You know, I asked them a question. Well, what do you think about this? They'll give like a one-word answer. And I'll give them a long time and ask them a question, you know. It suddenly jumps around. Suddenly you'll see we have like 20, 30 comments where people suddenly just want to get involved and start talking. So it's about the communication at the end of the day. How creative you are with the different communication.
It's also language. It depends what sort of colours you have on your page. I realised because it's a language barrier, what you usually do is put up pictures, some are visual. It's like, you know, colour language, you don't have to interact, and you just put text, updated text.
I think one of the easiest ways to do that is to see how you can simplify the message as much as possible and put it up in at least 2 or 3 languages, maybe, whatever status update, you know, and then.
No other questions. If I could ask kindly, there's a post-it note here, and there's some stuff here that we need to learn from you. And just basically make a comment and stick it where you feel it's happening. For example, what I learned. Just say, if you put nothing, I don't know who you are, so it's not a problem. But if you put something nice, we at least know how we're doing in terms of learning from you guys. Because this is going to be a continuation of elevation, a continuation of learning. And again, I wish I learned. If there's something that's still missing here, then I'm sure Brother Muhammad can bring him back and kind of investigate further if needs be. And next time, I wish I learned something on social media, or maybe you've got an idea, or maybe there's something that you want to learn. Again, we're feeding off from you here, or feeding from you, so we can actually do something in the future. Just to make an announcement as well, in 2 weeks' time we'll have fundraising. The guest speaker is not yet confirmed, so it's going to be about fundraising for charities. Those again who are no charities or non-charities are more than welcome to attend. But this is going to be about fundraising, which is the critical part of our life in terms of charity life. So I really appreciate it. I'll pass the post-it note down. Just write it, stick it here. That's all you have to do. Feel free to network. Feel free to discuss. Feel free to speak to Brother Muhammad if he's okay for timing. And thank you very, very much for coming. And the floor is yours.